experienced attorney. Call or text us at 212-766-1100. And yes, we speak Spanish.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to an exciting episode of Kap Or No Kap. I am your host, Kevin C. Meggett, along with Mr. Former City Councilman, grassroots organizer, never abandoned his community, Mr. Andy King. Thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here, my brother.
I'm glad every time you're here, I'm glad for you to be here. So thank you. We had a great show last week. I think I had Sammy Ravello, who's going for the Bronx Borough president. I didn't know. I just thought it was a cut and case scenario that there was just one person running, but apparently there's three. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when I found out Mr. Ravello was running, I asked him to come on, and he was gracious enough to come on. The other two candidates, Ms. Gibson, and I forgot the other. Do you know that?
I'm not even familiar with
the other. Right.
I heard it was a young lady running.
Right on a Republican line or something like that, a conservative line.
You got the Republican. I think Republican, and you have the independent line.
Okay. So I'd love to have all three on to come and actually do a debate. You know, we could ask. I'll actually take questions from the people of the Bronx and pose those questions to you. So you got an open challenge. If y'all want to come on as a collective and have a debate, that's great. And if not, if you want to come on singly, I mean, that's cool too. Let's talk about some things. How was your week?
Our week was pretty good. Actually, Saturday we had our 14th annual the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, our back to school, out of the pool, back to school rally.
Right.
And inspire kids that, hey, summer's coming to an end, and now it's time to open up those books, dedicate yourself to studies. One point, just grow as a great person.
Right.
There are a lot of things, the last year and a half kids lost due to the fact that the pandemics that's been out there that's had people upside down. So trying to figure out how kids get back into a learning groove. So inspiring them. I was grateful Melly Mel came out and talked to us.
Shout out to Melly Mel, Grandmaster.
Did his little rapping, and Amadeus, the famous
Amadeus, that's huge.
Yeah, he got on the drums and did his thing, so it was very inspiring. So I just want to thank everybody who made yesterday happen, and from the sponsors to more importantly, the students who came out and the kids that came out and played in the basketball game. So it was a lot of fun, and the Lord blessed us with good 82-degree weather, and so
it was a scorch out there.
It definitely was a last summer day.
I didn't actually because I was out there and I didn't watch the weather, so I just thought it was gonna be kind of cool, and I had the sweatsuit on, man, and sweat how he was doing. But it was really great. Shout out to all of those people that you mentioned. You had a lot of community grassroots organizers that were there. You had the FDNY that was there, NYPD. That was very important. There would be just clergy. It was a really, really, really good event, and I want to thank you. A lot of people don't get. The work that you have been doing led to you running for city council. I'm going to be very clear. The work that you were doing led to you. You were doing it at no charge anyway. You were just doing it from the goodness of your heart, and it led to you running for office. And I felt like you needed to be compensated for the work that you did, and you did a good job. You did a good job at that event. You did a good job in city council. What I was very, very disappointed in was the fact that no other of the elected officials were there, and I think that was very planned. We talk about plandemic. Those are the biggest plandemics, and I'm talking about the Carl Hasties. You would have thought of Vanessa Gibson, or I'm sure if you would had invited Sammy, he would have came. He's a really great guy. But I'm sure all of these elected officials, the Kevin Raleighs, the Jamal Baileys, the Carl Hasties, This is their district. Matter of fact, if you're listening to me, this is your district, and shame on you for not attending. You need to put your personal feelings for this man aside and work for the betterment of the community, because that's what he's doing. He's just working for the betterment of the community, and it seems like you shun him every chance that you get. And shame on you. And I think personally, y'all all should be just kind of really voted out. I think that the only reason you get away with this is because you use our tax money as an incentive to us, and it's a snatch and grab type of thing. People want resources, and they figure, well, let me play this game. And politics wasn't really meant to be a game. It was meant for representation, and the fact that none of you guys showed up was just poor representation, in my humblest opinion. Speaking of which led to all of this, I went on your page on Facebook, and I seen the picture of you at the YMCA, and what I did was who was in that picture? It was Kevin Riley. It was Vanessa Gibson. It was Carl Hasty,
Darcel
Clark.
John Starks from the Knicks.
John Starks from the Knicks. Mayor de Blasio. And so I seen your picture and I reposted. I said, "Oh, this is wonderful. Unity, and everyone's in unity." And then I said, because some of them I'm their friends too on Facebook. And so I went to their pictures, and conspicuously absent was you. They cropped you right out of the picture, and you and what's the Bronx DA's name?
Darcel Clark.
Darcel Clark. They cropped her out the picture too. So Darcel Clark, if you hear my voice, they got an agenda for you, So I just really want you to get wise, And I posted your picture, the original picture, and then I posted two other pictures. I think I posted from Carl Hasty's and Vanessa Gibson, where you're just not there. And, shame on them. Just shame on you. This is not how politics is supposed to work. This is poor representation. It's misleading. And if we were to do it, we would be held accountable. And I want government to be accountable to us. It seems like we're accountable to government, and you're supposed to be our representation. The money that you earn, the money that you spent, those are my tax dollars. I work very hard, and I pay a lot in taxes, by the way, a lot. I complain about it all the time, but this isn't your money. This is my money, and for them to try to crop you out of the picture for the YMCA was disgusting. But they can't. I mean, you've been part of that conversation ever since the YMCA. Let me ask you a question about the YMCA real quick. Now, if a child is unable to pay, is there a scholarship that the YMCA is offering the community for that child to participate?
Well, there isn't a scholarship that I'm aware of at the moment. I was on a call last night, Williamsbridge NAACP,
okay,
and that was one of the challenges, the conversation that came, because I've gotten calls from folks saying that the cost is too high.
Right.
And early on, when I was in the council, there was a commitment by the YMCA to make sure that this wire will be affordable to anybody who wants to utilize it in this particular neighborhood. The reason it was built in our neighborhood is because we didn't have anything. Other districts had Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, but we didn't have anything of the sort. So the goal was to build this for the neighborhood to utilize it and maximize on it. What's happening right now, I do understand the YMCA is still a private entity and they still run a business. But right now, it's going to be a challenge. Now I'm hearing that Carl Hasty and the current council members supposed to be putting in some type of funding. I don't know how that plays out, because unless it's through a program, you just can't. Right. You can't send government tax money to a private entity just to say, "Hey, it's for membership." I don't know how they do that. So it's coming an issue right now. I hope they're able to fix it. Find maybe a private donor wants to donate some money and they can handle some of the cost of being able to have a membership. But it's a sad reality that they got to manage right now, and I hope it gets fixed. So otherwise, you don't want to have a new group facility like that only people who can afford it, or people outside of the district or the neighbors coming to utilize it, because the people inside the district, the amount of people in either ward, they can't spend $70 a month. Right. I mean, seriously, what kind of pricing is that? So hopefully there's a solution that comes really quick, so this fabulous building that we worked on and that has been a conversation for the neighborhood for over 40 years finally came to fruition this year. hopefully there's a solution that can be readily accessible on the table that the neighborhood can utilize this facility.
Well, when after I mentioned the whole YMCA picture, me and Vanessa Gibson, we were kind of going back and forth, and I would like to give her props for even addressing it. She texted me, and she was just basically asking me how I'm doing. I'm like, I'm great. I think it's real janky what y'all doing to Mr. King, but but hey, I'm. And she's like going back and forth and telling me, no, it's not like that. We posted pictures, and I'm like, no. Before I posted anything, I looked very well. I looked at everyone's page to make sure that I didn't not misrepresent what I posted about. And so she kind of was going back and forth, and I think a lot of her going back and forth is to save face value because she's looking to become Bronxborough president, which she very well may be. I mean, she very well may make it happen. I'm not sure. That's not the issue. The issue is don't be misleading and don't be, you says, oh, well, there's a lot of things that we tagged Mr. King on. Did you get any tags from any of them? No?
The only thing I got was the video of us doing the YMCA.
Right.
And
well, they couldn't crop you out of that.
Yeah, because it was a video.
Yeah, right. They couldn't crop. So that actual my argument, Mr. King, is you had to actually maneuver and hit crop and carefully etch you out the picture and you rightfully belong in that picture in the 12th district. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm gonna move on for that. But your event was very, very outstanding. I want to talk to you real quick about the now Pfizer's turning out to say, I'm sorry to jump around. This is kind of what I do. It's like I get all of these, I see everything that's going on in the week, and I'm kind of like just debriefing, like, thank you, Millennium TV, because if I wasn't here talking to you, I'd probably be on a couch talking to a therapist. So this is what Millennium TV is awesome because, you're saving me a lot of money, But COVID-19, we had Nurse Marrow out on nurse practitioner Tamika Marrow on the show. You had her on the show. Mm-hmm. I think you by the way, I thought you did an outstanding job with her interviews. I think you did 3 of them. I didn't catch the third one. I will catch it with Shep. But the first 2 that I saw was outstanding. I was like, oh man, I gotta get my interview skills up. Mr. King killing me. You know what I mean? But you did a really, really good job. But now Pfizer's coming out now and saying that, I don't know if you read this or saw it, is that the vaccines are now safe for children from 5 to 11. Did you see that or hear that?
I did see the article in reference to that. My concern with all of this, and everyone got their opinion, but when it comes to this pandemic that we've been living under these conditions, is that when it comes to our children, it comes to all humans, we have a natural immune system that we've been built with to fight off the viruses and the colds that are on this planet. And for the agenda of saying that this COVID-19 now is the savior is a vaccine which has not been tried and tested as they tried and test other vaccines over a period of time, it's misleading to the folks, and it's sad because I've watched a number of people and loved ones get injected with whatever was in that little bottle, in that syringe, and literally their bodies just fell apart. So how do we stand true and say, hey, this is the savior of all? Because I had to ask nurse practitioner Mara, I said, the one thing I've learned is that I've never known anybody who's taken a shot for the measles or the mumps and then caught the measles or the mumps. So why are people saying that you can take this shot? Now you went from it 80% rate, reducing the symptoms. Well, if you never got sick without it, how do you know how well your symptoms would have been?
Yeah, right.
Because with it, you have no idea though what it would do. We do know the earlier testings that they were doing years ago that it didn't work. Animals were dying from the same stuff that they were using. They put in humans' bodies. So if animals were falling apart, how do you take this drug that was never designed for human consumption and put it in human bodies and to say this is your savior? And then you push and bully the world if you don't. Now we have a sense of the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. And I'll end with this. One thing I learned through these interviews, when you take one part of the shot and don't take the other part of the shot, they consider you unvaccinated. So when you go into the hospital and they say them vaccinated people are dying, or filling up the hospitals, those are people who've gotten injected. So it's not like the person who never got touched with anything they're filling up. So there we go again with another misleading conversation to move your agenda and people getting paid. I just say to everybody, do some real research. When people start having this conversation that has you on the other side of the street, do some real research and find out some truths in all of this.
We'll be right back. We're going to hold that thought. We'll be right back, and we're going to bring our guest on.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care, convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. For over 20 years, we have helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. We work 100% for the 99%. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. And yes, we speak Spanish.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back. We're back with Kap Or No Kap. I was really feeling what you were saying about the COVID. You know what I mean? And I'm going to jump back into that. When we close out, we could talk about what my thoughts on it, because what they're doing now is they're expanding this COVID mandate. And, I feel a way about it. But, again, we were back to your event. Your event was so spectacular. I mean, you had good food. You had people coming out. There was a sense of unity. The atmosphere was really good. And, I've noticed that there are people in our community like yourself that do similar work. And I just really want to bring our guest on today. His name is Jenkins. He's a longtime resident of Edenwald, Bronxite. And what he does for our community is so important because it's needed. It's needed in the middle of a housing development. Thank you for coming on Kap Or No Kap. How are you?
I'm all right. I appreciate y'all bringing me on to this great discussion here.
Let me ask you a question. What exactly do you do for the community, and what inspired you to do what you do?
As a youngin' growing up in Edenwald projects, there's deployed a lot of gun violence going on. I felt after college I needed to come back and reach the youth, since I had more time to be around, because I could be anywhere else around the world, making kids, getting married, living in another state. But I decided to come back to Edenwald and reach the youth and try to make sure every kid go to college and keep the kids up the street. Me growing up, I used to be able to ride the bike from Edenwald to UDC, if Andy King remember that.
Oh yeah.
I had tournament all the time. And right there on 215, my aunt used to have a house. So I used to spend the night over there and then go to UDC Park. So those are some of the things that inspired me to want to do the things I did today as a community activist, and running my basketball tournament for the last 8 years, and just forming into an after-school program.
And what does that after-school program look like? What is it exactly that you offer the children that are in your program?
We basically offer the healthy living. We got educational components, media, character development. We might teach some youth how to tie a tie, how to write a letter. Just basic living things that these kids don't know. So they might be playing basketball. Some of them don't even know how to write strip in their name, cursive.
Oh, wow.
That you need to get by. So you might have 200 kids in your gym in some of these programs, right? And none of them really know how to read or write. They don't really know about the NCAA clearinghouse. They don't know that they could sign the application and go to college early. Like, you could do the pre-screen early. So just basically those kind of things. We got STEM. So, it don't always got to be basketball. It could be music. Some people reach through media. It could be the marching band. Like I went to HBCU myself, so I know how that can go. Just giving you all platforms, it just brings people together, basketball.
Oh wow! And who are some of the people you work with what you're doing?
Vance Callahan's my partner. We got some people behind the scenes: Abraham Hamilton, Scoochie Smith, Marquise
Scoochie,
Green,
the basketball player. Yeah.
Sierra. So just a couple of people just around the way that we just building this empire just to make the district stronger. So even though we don't have the funding, we still go out there, we still do what we do and make it happen.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. What are some of the challenges that you find in obtaining city funding?
Just basically, I feel like the funding should be more broad, meaning it shouldn't just have to go to city council for them to distribute the funds to a nonprofit. I think they should come out more to see what these nonprofits are doing, and based off your grading, you should be able to get a certain amount of funding. So if you got an A grade or a B grade in this summer, you should be able to get whatever it is, 80,000, 50,000, whatever the grade should be. I feel like it's real political when they just go to a city council, and then if you don't really know the city council like that, you might not get the funding. Or if you do, you might get $5,000. And just because a person, they might give it to the normal people that just put the application in because they know them, and that's not always correct. And that person might not ever do nothing, and they just keep giving them the funding, but they're not really making a great impact. So you could show numbers on paper, but if they're not reaching kids and kids are not going to college, or your graduation rate is low of your school, what I'm giving you $1 million for?
Right.
Just because I know we friends, that's good too, but I need to see some results next year, I need to see kids graduate. I need to see kids graduating from college. So it's not for me, it's just not big basketball. Basketball just brings people together and keep the crime rate down and eating what it's not many opportunities growing up in the projects, and all you see is gun violence and crime. So when the tournament's going on, the rate is real low. The crime rate is decreased by a margin. And it's proven in the stats. So although I never really got the funding, that ain't stopped me, because we keep going whether I get the funding or not. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
I'm not really hitting dollars. So.
And that's why I brought you on the show, because I've seen you come out of pocket, and I've seen the type of things that you've come out of pocket with respects to bouncing things for kids. You have grills, and you're out there feeding the whole community, hot dogs and hamburgers and so forth and so on. And when I stop and talk to you, you telling me that you did this out of pocket. So, I really want to commend you for having that much love for your community to want to do that for the community. But Mr. King, what is any facts to what he's talking about when it comes to city funding? How is these funds allocated?
Well, the funding is based on a reimbursement system, first and foremost. And we had passed rules a couple of years back that the maximum amount the when the first time come out can only get is $5,000 anyway. What tends to happen, people who've asked for funding and not being able to spend on that money because of the reimbursement system. But there is a process that can be very tedious, frustrating, and annoying at the same time. So that's being able to have someone who help you walk through the process. And I can exactly agree with what you're saying, because we did put together another piece in the council when I was there to hold non-for-profits who are getting funding accountable to give us their reports on how they've been helping people, because he's absolutely right. There have been a number of organizations, especially big organizations, who get hundreds of thousands of dollars, even some $1 million, to deliver on services. But the most important, a lot of it's for administration costs as well. So if you are a part of the inside circle, yes, you have access to navigate. The guys like Jenkins and even myself, when I still have my youth program, I applaud you for that, because I always believe lack of funding should not mean lack of service. So stay true to that, brother, and the Lord will continue to feeding you to help you feed the neighborhood. So he's absolutely right. There's if you don't know the elected a leader or elected official in the district, you may not ever have access to any government funding. But if you do know, but for the elected official, yes, sometimes they do play the game of, let me just deal with these people, let me deal with this folks, not deal with these folks. And they're the same old regulars that walk in and out of the door who don't deliver on anything. But they do get, because they have the relationship, they constantly can end up getting money. So stay true, man. And listen, I'll do whatever I can to help you to understand that process a little more. When I was in the council, I used to do in the beginning of January is when the doors open for people to ask for funding, and doing a training so people can learn how to do it, because when you mess up on it, it kicks you back out. You got to go all the way back to the beginning.
From square one?
Yeah. So what ends up happening is that the finance department will get it at City Hall and they'll work with you, and then you miss one, you forget one sheet of paper, forget a line. Then imagine if there are 5,000 people asking for funding, your application ends up being, you get to the front of the line, oh, you forgot to go fix that. It's not like you can jump right back in the same spot.
You got to go back.
You end up going back. You end up going back. You know?
So a lot of it also has to do with education.
That's actually true what he's saying. That's actually true what Mr. King is saying, because I'm going through that right now, the whole process of discretionary funding. It comes out in January. You got to have the nonprofit. You got to write abroad what you asking for, and every dollar counts. So you got to write it to the T. You got to do the HHA mocks, passport portal, where they receive those contracts through the funding. So I was actually ahead of that time and getting in the game about what he's saying. So that is actually true, Mr. King, what you're saying. If you miss a line, I seen them kick back a lot of people's applications as far as getting funding.
Yep.
So right now we're working with like Kevin Rowley, and I'm about trying to get some type of funding and see what they would do, about giving us funding.
And how is working with Kevin Rowley on this funding? I'm just curious.
Kevin Rowley, I'm not gonna lie. Kevin Rowley's been very, very helpful and useful. He's been always honest about how to go about funding. He's always been coming out. For the most part, I really can't say nothing bad about Kevin Rowley. To be honest, he's on every process. If something happened, they'd email me and say, "Rod, this happened."
I really don't know him. I really don't know him to say anything bad about him. I just wish he would come on the show so I could get to know him. You know what I mean? But yeah. That's good. I'm glad he's helping you. But those are the situations you kind of been running, and I'm glad your experience with him hasn't been a negative one. So
in the meetings, we was in just the meeting in the YMCA with Chuck Schumer. That whole big meeting there was involved in that. Muggsy was involved in that.
Okay.
We talked about. It wasn't even about basketball. One of the main things was gun violence in our district, and all over the city has been crazy with the gun violence and beating on seniors. You see younger guys. They're beating on seniors when they go into the grocery store or just walking home. So those are some of the main things. University healthcare, make it all universal. So if our grandmoms is going to get our medicine from maybe a Rite Aid or CVS pharmacy, they shouldn't have to pay a major co-payment just to get their medicine, which would be crazy. I don't know what y'all think about that, but
I totally agree. I think healthcare should be 100% free of charge. I mean, all the way, But those are socialist ideologies, and I'm starting to jump into, because someone's got to pay for it, and that becomes the problem with socialism. Like it's almost like, let me give you Christmas gifts on Halloween. It's a massacre. You want to give, but we live in a capitalist society, and I think probably the real thing we have to embrace and wrap ourselves around is knowing that we live in a capitalist society. We need to start teaching our children capitalism. That's the problem. And so and I want to talk about the high crime level. So let me tell you, white liberals, they're funny. They're real funny. They're Halloween. They're trick or treat. What they do is they'll throw these blanket statements out, right? Like defund the police, right? On the surface, if you don't know what it means, you just think like, let's get rid of the police. So, okay, you have a white liberal that throws out this soundbite, defund the police. We run with it, defund the police, right? And now we become in a lawless state. What's happening with law enforcement all around the country right now is that they're not really pursuing anything. Murders, armed robbery, they're not really pursuing too many crimes. And it's because that's their pushback for them being held responsible and accountable for how they treat us. So the problem is so deep that when, I believe right before President Obama took office, a federal memorandum came out from the FBI saying that law enforcement and the military was being compromised by hate groups like the KKK. They've infiltrated law enforcement so that they could kill black people with impunity. So throughout all of the 8 years President Obama was president, right? He spoke out once against police brutality, and they crucified him for it. So, and then when you had Trump, right? it really brought out the bigots, right? And I appreciate Trump's candidacy, believe it or not, because how many people voted for Donald Trump?
Over 70 million.
So it tells you that over 70 million people really hate our guts. That's what it says. Mm-hmm. And so we still have this mentality that we shall overcome and let's kumbaya. Now, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, those are inappropriate behavioral patterns. And the best way for me to explain an inappropriate behavior pattern is it's almost like the Rodney King syndrome. I beat you up, I knock your teeth out, crack your ribs, bust an eye out of socket, put staples in your head, and you look up and say, can we all get along? That's inappropriate behavior patterns. And so we have to start taking a certain amount of accountability and responsibility to govern ourselves. And the last thing I'll say is when you have such high crimes in neighborhood, you have to look at the unemployment rate, because high crimes usually means low jobs. There's no one working. So we'll deflect and say, let's play basketball and let's play football. And while you have a more tangible program like yours, because you were actually teaching kids government, you taught my kids government. You have that's not the solution. The solution is having equity to the same resources that your white counterparts have. You dig?
Yeah, I think that's true. Financial literacy is big. And a lot of that's mental health also that's going on. A lot of people's mentally ill that we need to touch on that we don't know about. So
absolutely.
It's guns on the street. If somebody's mentally ill, like you said, all they starving, they going to rob somebody. Unemployment, they gave out a lot of free money this year. A lot of people had unemployment, right? Crime is still going on. They didn't do nothing with the money, right? A lot of people wasn't working. They had grants and stuff like that, federal funding that was pushed out. So a bunch of people to get unemployment. The crime rate was still high. Now that it's over, you're seeing the massacre even more of that. So I think it's bigger. What you're saying is true about the economic part, but a lot of it is mental health that we have to touch also.
And a lot of it has to do with if a person is guilty of a crime, I don't care what color you are, man. You really need to lock them up. I'm sorry. Like we do some of the most idiotic things, bro. Like when you think about it, right? We'll sit down and be like, well, I ain't gonna talk to no police. Well, how do you expect to resolve anything? Talking is free. Mm-hmm. You dig what I'm saying? We're never gonna resolve anything unless we sit down. We have this culture where no snitching. We have to change our mindset. And now I get, and I think you said this at your event, when people stop praying after you pray, you go 911 if you have something. So, yeah. I mean, it's just how do we create, the real question should be how do we create a system of accountability? And that's what it is. And one of the things is, and I know you remember this. I don't know if you might have been too young to remember this. I feel like I'm dating myself. But back in the 80s, the NYPD would recruit people right out of high school. Yeah. And they recruited people out of high school to work in the community and serve the community that they were in. So that's how you bridge a gap. You have a lot of these police officers that live in Long Island, that live in Suffolk County, wherever, you know what I mean? This is almost their first experience with black people. Yeah. And there's already been a memo saying you could get away with killing us, so they can't wait to kill us. I mean, unemployment, miseducation, lack of economic literacy, all of those things, poor food, that's not the problem. Those are symptoms of the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is white supremacy racism, according to Dr. Claude Anderson. And I would suggest anyone who don't know who he is, please go buy his book, Powernomics, and Black Labor, White Wealth. I got to give him a big shout out because he's an icon amongst us, and most people don't even know who he is. But that's the problem. The problem is, how do we rectify white supremacy, racism towards equality? And then once we start working towards equality, right, we will start to govern ourselves in an equal society. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on a lot, both of you have, and it makes so much sense to you. But the rules of engagement of this country puts people at odds with one another. In the council, I've watched some of the rules and some of the things that were voted on that took away stability in a system. Whether it's the reform package that was put out there for justice reform and bail reform, to even just saying, hey, we want to free people out of Rikers, and this is before Rikers went haywire. But at the end of the day, I knew the thing with Rikers was a power grab. If you wanted to fix your criminal justice system, it wasn't the jail system that was faulty. The jail is just a facility.
The court system.
It's the court system that were putting people in jail who didn't need to be in jail, and the people who need to be in jail should be in jail. Now you want to put rules together, put people out of jail. You touched based on mental illness. Yes, there are some people who do not need to be walking around the streets. But because of some of the quote unquote progressive liberal conversations and policies that are being placed out there, you let the genie out of the bottle, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle right now.
That's
so
yeah,
we're dealing with chaos. We're dealing with anarchy right now, and there is no stabilization in today's society. There are so many chaotic things that are happening across the globe. So my brother, when you're out there saving young people and using basketball as a tool, as we used to do in, say, in UDC, building character through sports, yeah, you got to be on the ground. You got to meet our kids someplace to help them so they can live in a society that's designed for self-destruction and self-chaos. The messaging to our kids aren't about inspiring them. The messaging to our kids, there is no messaging other than how we can control the narrative of how you're going to actually exist, whether it's in your best interest or it's in the best interest of those who are running the country.
I got you. Well, hold on. We're going to be right back because this is an engaged conversation. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick short commercial break and pay bills, all right? We'll be right back with Kap or No Kap.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care, convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. For over 20 years, we have helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. We work 100% for the 99%. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. And yes, we speak Spanish.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
We're back. Welcome back to Kap or No Kap. Kevin C. Meggett, Mr. Andy King. We have our special guest, Rod Jenkins. And, we were talking about some things, and, I was just trying to, Dave, you said a lot, there is mental health issues. The problem is, I think where I've always stood. I just really don't see anything for foundational Black Americans. And I don't mean to be a separatist, but this country has been founded on separation. We just need to be really sovereign from this system, because this system has never, ever, ever worked for us. Hasn't worked after the Civil War. It hasn't worked with the Civil Rights Bill being passed. It hasn't worked with affirmative action. It just doesn't work. It works for everyone else but the people that are native to this country. So with that said, you wanted to ask Rod Jenkins a question?
Yeah,
Rod, you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah, Brother Jenkins, you've been doing this work for years now. With all that's happening in the world right now, what are some of the plans you have moving into 21-22 year?
21-22 year, we have things going on that's coming up for Thanksgiving. We'll be giving away turkeys. We always give away a coat drive. We really, really want to touch on the pandemic. We unsure about if we should push kids to get vaccinated, push parents against vaccinated. We're not sure about that. A lot of people's touchy on that situation. Going forward for the 22 year, we want to be able to get more of our programs in more schools, but COVID is slowing things down. So we are a DOE vendor. We want to get our program more involved in different schools in the district. We're working closely with PS 112. The principals there. We want to work with Miss White School in 228th. That's just some of the schools that we touch in Truman in the district. So that's some of the things that we want to do right there. DOE vendor, get most of our programs in the school for after school and reach these kids.
What's the age limits that you work with right now?
We start from age 8 to 18. So we work with kids from 8 years old all the way up to high school till they graduate high school right now.
Right. Well,
colleges, college tours, and ensure that they're getting in the right college and going to school for the right thing. As we know, people always say that college don't get you the job you want, or people don't really believe in it. They lose hope in just going to college. A lot of us, they figure we go to college for sports, but getting a scholarship and have free education was one of the main things coming from the project. So me, personally, I think college should be free for most of these kids. Like, the first 2 or 3 years should actually be free.
Right.
I like that.
Because the rate when they got to pay these loans back when they graduate and then got to get into their career is tough. So you still already financial disadvantage when you got to pay these big, heavy loans back, credit card loans. So you're always at a disadvantage.
Yeah, well, that's the system that we're in. I heard you mention earlier what you were just sharing in regards to a positioning of moving parents or taking on being a messenger about the vaccine. Me also being a director of a youth program myself, one of the things that I've always did, it was just learn more about stuff before getting on the bandwagon that everyone's jumping off the cliff. So maybe I jump off the cliff too. It's like, wait a minute, let me pause and find out what's really real here. Because when you understand this country, when you understand the world, when you understand messaging, and I'm not saying you don't, I'm saying as people, you got to understand how the rules of engagement operation is, and when this world doesn't do anything without a benefit to itself. So I just say to you, we've had conversations regarding to, and I've had conversations with parents and kids. It's your personal choice, but then again, your body is already equipped with a defense system in place. And this experimental injection that they're putting into people is that it's an experimental injection. I don't know if you heard me say early in the show, I've never known anyone to take the mumps and measles shot and ever catch the mumps and measles. People are taking this shot and they still catching the virus, they're still spreading the virus, they're still getting sick. Because what we're learning is that this experimental injection is also breaking down the natural immune system as well, and having the natural immune system working in overtime as the spike proteins in it is jumping on the healthy cells as well as the bad cells. So again, if they had more time to test, then maybe you can come out with something that makes sense. But force the government, for Pfizer and all them to go to the government and ask for an emergency to deliver this. Well, what emergency was it? Because prior to March, people were living with COVID.
Right.
They weren't dying. They were just going through the process as they caught the flu. When they started injecting people with this, it started shaking up the body. People started getting abscesses and heart conditions and liver fall and bladders falling apart and dying. But they won't give you that real conversation. So I say before you even pick up the mantle on this one, learn a little bit more, because you never want to be the person because you're a credible messenger for our neighborhood. So when you speak, people will listen to you. So I just ask of you, be sure, and be sure.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say that I'm not a fan of the vaccination, so I never push that message out there. That's personally for me. Right. Now, other people got different opinions if they want to take it on their own choice, but I won't really push that out there because I haven't took it. Well, I'm going to tell hundreds and hundreds of people to go take a vaccine and maybe possibly kill themselves, and you haven't taken it. So I never want to be a hypocrite and mislead the community. So I always try to stay positive on that. And I make my personal choice. I won't brainwash you not to do it, but I recommend you not, because if you're a senior, you've been living for 75 years. Now you're going to take this shot
yes, exactly.
and get kidney stones and all this stuff. So you've been living on the world for 75 years. What do you need the shot for now?
Right, exactly.
That added up to me. And now it's like y'all mandating the CDC. You can't do that, and you violating the civil rights of people's rights by forcing a vaccination on them just to take it. They can't work their job. They can't do this. So to me, I think this is $1 billion scam for the white supremacists to gain more money. They look at our community as a giggy pair, a test dummy. I don't see it going on in the Jewish communities. They want to try us first, like the Tuskegee experiment. I could be wrong, where they're trying to get hundreds and hundred thousand people to pass away. As you know, New York City is overpopulated, so that might be one of the reasons why they're trying to defer down on the population here to get it down low. They started with the seniors saying it's good. Now they're going down to babies, so they're just jumping all over. They're trying to just decrease the population all over the world. So to me, like you said, people took flu shots and got sick. I never known for if you've been living all this time that you need this shot. So just don't just hear something and say, yeah, it's trying to scare you. So people don't believe in it. Yeah, you might get sick from COVID, but if your body fought of COVID, all these people fought COVID and they still living, how all of a sudden you get the vaccination is going to stop? I've seen people pass away with the vaccination and catch COVID. So if it's not really doing nothing when you catch COVID or stop COVID, what is the purpose of this shot? Tell me.
The scary part is like the politicalization of this. You can't even say the word COVID and vaccine. You know what I mean? You get shadow banned on social media and everything else. So I mean, but I really want to. I'm gonna bring you back on, man. We running out of time. Before you go, tell people where they could find you and how they could donate to your cause.
You can find me on my email is rasheemjenkins@yahoo.com. RASHEEMJENKINS. If you want to hit us up on Instagram, it's Granada BTW Classic. You can find us there. My Instagram is International Rod 5. My Facebook is Rod Jenkins. You can find me there and hit me with a message. If you also want to donate, we also got a cash at Granada BTW. You can cash app it there. Or you can reach out to us in person. If it's going to be a tax write-off, we can get those papers to you. We tax exempt to drive support. So.
And maybe we could do some other things in the near future in the district, man. I love you. I applaud you. I really applaud the work that you do. I definitely give you as a serviceman, I salute you, man, for the work that you do.
I appreciate that. Andy gave us the award about 2 years ago. I appreciate y'all for having me on. Thanks.
Yes. Keep up the wonderful work, good brother.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Ra.
Thanks.
All right, we're taking a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care, convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. For over 20 years, we have helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. We work 100% for the 99%. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. And yes, we speak Spanish.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
We're back. Kap Or No Kap, Kevin C. Meggett, Mr. Andy King. That was a very good conversation we had with that young man. I absolutely applaud the work that he's doing, and if anything I could do to help him, I'll definitely do that. I really love when people start coming in their community and they engage. But like one of the things, I just want to jump back to the COVID thing because that's what we were talking about. Now they're mandating their kids 5 to 11, and from 12 on could get it. So they're mandating this vaccine for everyone. I have a huge problem with the mandate, and I know you don't now it's not even about is it good for me or if it's bad for me. It's the legality of it. Is it legal and constitutional to mandate something on me? Like I submit to a COVID vaccine test every single week just to work, just to have gainful employment in the city of New York every week. And you know what I mean? And we've realized, studies show, just because you have the vaccine, it doesn't stop you from getting COVID. So I know you're not a lawyer, But from common sense point of view, would you say that this is medical discrimination?
It is discrimination. It's a separation of persons on here. Something known as the HIPAA law also requires you not to be able to ask people about their health conditions when they go to a doctor. So that's a little concerning right then and there, is that they're just bullying people, because in the Constitution it states that no state governments can create any law that violates religion or person's right for their certain freedoms. So what territory are we in right now? Have we gone from what the democracy said it's supposed to be, or is democracy only for one set of people? Do we take the rules and then we're not democracy? We are generally now a communist world, that we're a dictatorship, that we just tell people this is how it is, and if you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to take your everyday privileges. How do you create mandates that takes people's quality of life away from them, take their ability to earn a living away from them, on what? And the experimental, because it has been proven that the liquid that they're shooting people up has not proven to do the things that they say is designed to do.
It's still in a clinical trial.
Exactly.
We are the clinical trial.
That's right. The world is the clinical trial. So people are still getting sick. People are still dying. People are still passing, whatever. But they would have done that if you didn't have a shot. They would just go through it, because I just say that anyway, if you're sick, you should be running around the street anyway.
Let me ask you a question. What is your take on the mayor? I mean, I know in the past you probably were one of the very first people that jumped out of the window and backed him.
Yes,
and
yes, I was.
And it wasn't popular when you did it, by the way. You know what I mean? And he became mayor. Do you still feel the way you feel for him now as you did then?
I've gone through a lot in the world of politics, and what has tended to happen is that I learned the integrity of people.
Okay.
I've learned who people really are, and I had to believe who they are. I could no longer give you the benefit of saying that you are a good person. When your actions demonstrate that you didn't have a backbone to stand up when something was wrong and say, you know what, something ain't right. Everyone got on an agenda of messaging. So far as the mayor, does the mayor have it tough? Yeah, he has it tough, because there's a lot of things happening in this world that's on his watch, between the finances, between the weather conditions, the storms that hit, between the plague, between the unemployment, between the mental illness. It just says to me, as crazy as this world was, you were designed to be in that spot when this time was happening. That's a lot for any one person to handle, but hey, you never know why things happen on people's watches. So to the mayor, I hope you get through your last 100 days, then you're able to save some souls. Hope you save your soul, and help New York be a better place. And I just ask everybody who's in government, everyone who has a decision to make, don't bully people into something that you don't have no idea what it really can do or what it's doing. Or whatever that agenda is, stop bullying people.
Well, I applaud you for even still having some type, because I'm a little jaded. Mm-hmm. I think the mayor is the biggest idiot that he's the worst mayor that New York City has ever produced. And I thought Rudolph Giuliani was the worst mayor. In fact, and I'm gonna tell you what makes him the worst mayor to me. He has this COVID mandate that I was in Philadelphia recently. Their mandate doesn't look nothing like Philadelphia's mandate. This is a New York City initiative. So I can't even go into a restaurant. How dare you close the restaurants to people that want to pay, and when they were financially crippled for, what, a year and a half?
Yeah, roughly that, yes.
And then when you open and have to be restaurant and COVID police? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the things he should pay attention to, he's oblivious to. When we had a snowstorm, he couldn't shovel the street. When we had, I didn't watch the weather when I came to your event, and it was hot, and I had on a sweatsuit. Mm-hmm. I personally paid for that. Mm-hmm. But as mayor, if I was mayor, I don't have the luxury of not watching the news, and not the news, the weather. I should know what the weather is going to be all the time. If it's snow, I got to have a plan in place to pick up the snow. If it's rain, now you can't stop these things. You couldn't stop that rainstorm we had. Mm-hmm. But when me trying to travel to work, which took me 5 hours, to be to work, to get to work. There wasn't a plan in place with MTA, but you knew this rain was coming. Why didn't you have shuttle buses on deck? This is just either poor planning prevents
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right, exactly. Proper planning prevents poor performance, and his performance is poor because his planning is poor. That's what I was trying to say. You know, I'm just so, my mind goes faster than my mouth sometimes. But he didn't plan accordingly. Then I went out this weekend and I tried to go to eat at this restaurant because I'm doing this cleanse, and I wanted to get some vegan food. You cannot go in any New York City restaurant without having a proof of vaccination. My argument is becoming this, right? If we allow them to get away with this on this level, what's next?
That's right.
Are we going to say, because you're not vaccinated, you can't live in NYCHA? If you're not vaccinated, you can't receive services and tangibles? This is discrimination at its finest. Shame on you, Mayor de Blasio, and shame on the federal government for dragging their feet. This should emergency run into FDA for emergency approval. We need a FDA. We need a emergency approval through the Supreme Court to know if this is constitutional or unconstitutional. And I'm gonna end this on this note. If we get into the business of mandating, if we're gonna start mandating things, why don't we just stop and mandate these reparations that foundational Black Americans deserve? Let's start mandating that. Okay. I'm moving on. Adrienne Harris, you heard of her?
From the Obama administration,
right?
Who was heading up the Treasury and a techno smart money overseer, wealthy, sits on a whole bunch of boards now to help the financial world stay stable.
It's hard because a lot of those companies that she was in the private sector were under scandals themselves.
Right.
And so
yeah.
I don't know what this new governor is doing. I don't think I really think that she's going to be a one-term governor. So,
Oh, you mean just kind of end this one out? She
won't. She's not. Yeah, right. When I say one term, she's going to finish. How long does
a year.
She has a year left?
Yeah.
Okay, so she got a year to make an impact, because I really don't foresee the state of New York voting for her again. But I don't know. I know Jumaane Williams wants to run. Well, he wanted to run for lieutenant governor, or was it governor?
He's still going to run for governor, as I understand it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if what I did realize also when you took me up to Albany so graciously so many times with those kids, as you leave the city of New York and you go up to the state, it doesn't reflect what the city looks like. I say that to say, Jumaane, I would love to see you run. I would love to see you successfully run, but I just don't know if this, we still live in a very racist society, a very white climate, and I don't know if these suspected white supremacists will vote you in. I mean, that's remain to be seen, but I know they'll probably vote her out. So, I don't know. They may. I suspect they're going to start looking towards conservatism, and I think conservatism is going to have a platform with the whole Biden administration's handling of the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And do you have any opinions on the Afghanistan withdrawal?
America wants to be the police of everybody.
Okay. And
there's a certain way to do things, because if home right here isn't taken care of, why are you always trying to take care of everybody else's house? America has so many challenges right within its own walls, that if we can spend some of the time and money on it to stay strong, and like you talked about, bringing equity up for all your citizens, and because there's a set of citizens who are living up here, and there's a lot of citizens down here. So in order for us to have some equity, that we have to pause this. We got to pause the growth over here. Mm-hmm. You're good right here, and then we got to let these growth folks rise up. Right. Not everybody rising up at the same time, because there always will be that unbalance. So pulling out of Afghanistan, it's almost like you've been teaching you've been teaching a child, or been teaching, and don't take this the wrong way, folks. You've been grooming your pet. You've been grooming your dog. Now your dog comes back to bite you back. Now you're pissed off at the dog. So at the end of the day, Afghanistan people should be able to manage and run themselves. And the same people who are the Taliban, the people there, they bothered, who was in there, they still of your own people. They were the ones that were being trained to fight against Russia back in the 80s in that war back then.
That's
so,
right.
So now they say we can do this ourselves instead of fighting for everybody. Let's take care of our home.
I totally agree. What I'm really disturbed at is the fact that I feel that now you have a big influx of Afghan people coming into the country, seeking asylum, and they're going to be over prioritized on. But you never address the foundational Black American issue. That's what needs to be addressed, or the Native Black American issue, what we would call an African American, and they're going to over prioritize yet another group over us. And so, I mean, unfortunately, we're running out of time. This goes so fast. Maybe I'll start asking, can we start doing 2-hour shows? I don't know. But I love when you come on here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I really do appreciate it. And for those that don't know, we're on Roku, we're on Amazon, Apple TV, Androids, your iPhones, smart TVs. Download all of those devices and watch Millennium TV 24 News. We're the only news that's independent. We give it to you straight, no chaser, and we love you. Have a good night.